Hello everyone, it's Matt from Akuma Mods back again with our review of the Creality Halot Sky. At least that's what I think it's named, or said, I should say. So Creality reached out to me and about two other people that I'm aware of to give this a prototype testing and whatnot before the launch on their 7th anniversary, which was about 2 weeks ago now. So I've been doing some major printing with this thing just to see how well it prints, and I must say it's probably up there with my top printers. Now, as some of you guys may or may not know in terms of following me and know what my printers are, I have, you know, a few printers that are like my go-to 100% like no problems printers that even though they're older models, you know, RGB screens, they just produce quality prints and also accurate prints. Now, with that being said, I haven't really checked out the accuracy yet of this printer, so I can't really speak on that level. But in terms of how the prints come out, they've come out amazing so far. So just a pre-tip before you end up buying this unit. I will say that currently, as of making this video, they are bringing them out. There should be customers getting them by now. I know of one person that's got it so far today, and he already had some issues with the Z lead screw. I believe it's an issue where it's just not connected properly, so they just need to tighten some screws on the coupler. Happens, you know, it's not the end of the world. We all know that Creality has, you know, so-so quality control. So it's bound to happen, okay? It happens with really any printer, but those who know Creality know that it's normal. So anyway, with that all stuff aside, I will let you know that Creality has a specific slicer for this model. It's called the Creality box. Now, as it sits right now, it is an alpha version, and pretty much it's straightforward. So if you're getting into resin printing and you really don't know what to do, it's great. But there's also a huge other side that's very impactful on your prints. One of them is support settings, and one of them is settings for your resin. Now, you can tune the resin on the screen here, so it's a little different than what, you know, most people use with like She2Box or Prusa Slicer or Lychee. All those that have resin printer profiles in them, you can actually tune the resin and put it on your USB drive and put it on your printer, and it'll do everything for you. Whereas of right now, this, you would have to go into settings, and then you would have to go into printer parameters, and you'd actually have to adjust each and every time. So for those looking to get into printing and they're like, is this a good first printer? Yes and no. And I'll get into the details of why it's a great printer later on, but for that part alone, that I'm just kind of weary about, along with the whole slicer. You can't really tune anything properly right now. It's just like things are set and that's it. So hopefully Creality fixes that. Now, with that being said, there's also a workaround for that, just like there was with my other printers, like my WeBox, where, you know, I had amazing support structures on my WeBox, and I wanted that on all my printers. So what I do is I'd slice it in one program, whether you're using Lychee, Prusa Slicer, or She2Box. Those are basically the three main ones that are out right now. I'm sure there's others. But you can slice a model in there and then export it as an STL, import it into the Creality box, and just hit slice. Because really the Creality box is just there to slice it to the file that it is, which is, it's a weird file. I forget the name of it, but it's like something DLP, CXDLP. Now, I know Lychee has reached out to me, and they're currently working on getting an output file for this, which would be fantastic. I'm just starting to get into Lychee, so we'll see some more videos about that later on, but yeah, that's for another time. So let's get into what this printer is and why I think it's up there in my top printers. So first and foremost, you guys can kind of see this is a completely different style build than most of the resin printers out there. Most of the resin printers like the Elegoo Saturn, the Epax E10, the Sonic Mighty 4K, and any other slew of medium-sized printers, they're usually a pop-off top, which means the entire hood comes off of it and sets not to the side of it. I'm kind of so-so about that. I don't really have a major issue with it, but it just creates more room than what's necessary. This has a lift up top, and it's just much better because it stays there. You don't have to worry about it. The only thing you have to worry about is space behind it. That's it. You don't have to worry about, you know, clearance of whatever. So, like, I have all my resin printers in the back here on my my bench setup, and I have to make sure that there's enough clearance so I can take those hoods off, and it's just barely enough clearance. Whereas this bad boy, I don't have to worry about that. It just pops off, or pops up, and we're good. So that's one feature that I really, really like about it. One thing you guys might notice about it is it's got a sealer on each side of this. So this will create less fumes. On top of that, it does have a filtration system. Now, they do say that it's carbon. Most of the printers that are out there that are carbon filtered are not really carbon filtered, or they're just kind of like janky carbon filtered. So they kind of work, but not as efficient as they used to be. Or should be, I should say, not used to be. So that's just my 2 cents on that thing. So they work okay. I haven't really had any problems with smell in general with this printer at all. It's literally been sitting right next to me, no more than a foot away, as most of my printers do. But again, I also use low fume resins like bio-resins, or I actually use quality resins like Monokur 3D or 3DRS. So with that, you know, I don't really use low-grade like Elegoo, any cubic. I don't use any of that stuff anymore, just because of the constant problems I've had with dried resin in them. So, but that's again for a whole nother setup. Some cool things about this is this vat holds 1,000 milliliters of resin, so a big bottle of resin. These big, huge bottles of resin. You can put that whole thing in there and not have to worry about it. And it does have a max fill line, and that's the maximum that goes in there. So this vat holds quite a lot. Now, I haven't really compared it to any of the other medium-sized printers I have, like the Sonic Mighty 4K, the Elegoo Saturn, or the Epax E10, but I will say that I'm pretty sure when I go to check that out that this is going to be the winner out of all of them. The only one that might come close is the Sonic Mighty 4K, and that's just because it has a bigger screen on it, so it might have a bigger vat, but we'll have to see and test that out and just kind of put that out there. So as of right now, without major testing, this holds a lot of resin. So if you're someone who's worried about, you know, resin not being enough, this will print what it needs to in its build volume, not have a really major issue. Yeah, you might have to add some depending on the model that you're printing, but it's not as bad as, you know, before, where you have to sit there, add a little bit, and then wait for that to go, and then add a little bit more, and then you'd be good. So you might just have to do a one and done, and that's it. But, you know, that's to be tested, I should say. Build plate wise, it's similar to like the Anycubic Mono X build plates. So I'm kind of so-so about those build plates. I have a specific one that I really, really like. Unfortunately, it's only on my smaller printer. And really what's nice about it is that it never has resin come up to the top of it. It never can. So the top of the plate actually goes all the way to the top, and you can't get resin on the top of it in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely love that plate. I wish more people would do things like that, but hey, this works just fine. Some resin does settle in the front here. It kind of has like a lip effect. It's very, very minor, but it does sit on there. One thing I wish this had that some of the other medium-sized printers have is the ability to tilt my plate and just have it drip. But, you know, I can also work on a drip plate. I've been kind of getting into 3D modeling and stuff like that. So I'm looking to do a build plate that's non-movable drip plate, so that way it stays on there forever and you never have to worry about it. So we'll have to see what that comes out to. Anyway, moving along, so I'm not making this video super long. We have a dual linear rail, which is pretty much on par with everybody else in terms of like size, width, whatever. Nothing really special about that, but the thing that sticks out of anything right here is it has a T lead screw, which I believe is a T8 lead screw, and that makes things much, much smoother for printing. So usually when you do your printing process on a normal resin printer, pretty much any resin printer that's on the market right now, they have smaller Z lead screws, so their travel is almost twice as long. Whereas this, so on a normal resin printer, if you moved up 10 millimeter, by the time this thing does 10 millimeters, it'll already be done at like 8 or 7 millimeters. And then that one will just take a little bit longer. So smoothness is a lot better on this machine, and I'll show you what I mean in terms of like printing and how they come out. You'll see exactly what I mean. So, one of the things that Creality boasts about this is that it's got a 64-bit processor. I'll be completely honest, anything even over a 32-bit in terms of machine processing, I think is way, way overkill, but hey, better to be safe than sorry, I guess. It is not a Creality branded board. I have looked inside of this. The board actually sits right here, and then there's actually a driver pack that sits here. So the drivers aren't directly on the board. It's completely separated from it. So that's really, really interesting that they do that. And it's actually like quality parts. So when I first got this printer, we didn't get any files or anything for it. And there was a file on here, a test print. And when I went to go and test it, it didn't work. So I thought I had a bad screen or connection or whatever. So I ended up taking the whole thing apart. And I will say that taking this thing apart is a real pain, but wow. Way different than any other resin printer that's out there right now that I have worked with, period, or even seen. So what I mean by that is like all the electronics are separated right behind these front panels or side panels, and then inside there's another box that separates the entire UV LED, and there's a reason for that. So as you guys have seen, the Creality Halot Sky boasts a specific LED array that it prints with. So most of the time you see these medium-sized printers, they have an LED array that sticks up, or they have a bubble LED, or a matrix it's called. And the problem with that is you get layer lines inside of it. Case in point, the Elegoo Saturn, that had a lot of issues with it. Even the first-gen Epax E10 has that. I don't think mine does, but we'll take a look at that when we do the actual review video about it. But as of right now, it's been printing perfectly fine, so I don't have any issues with it. But one of the things that makes for is the LED actually points down this way instead of being directly below the LCD, points down onto a mirror, and that mirror reflects everything. So that's why that entire section is sectioned off from all the electronics, because it gets very, very hot, and there are heat sinks and fans and everything. There's fans all over the place inside this unit. So it does make it a little bit better, and it makes the electronics last a little bit longer because it's not exposed to heat a lot, so you lessen that problem that you might have with other resin printers. Not that it is a problem, but it might be down the road after continuous use. So, and then on top of it, the LED array is only about 12 LEDs. It's only about this big. It's only about the size of maybe a silver dollar, maybe a little bit bigger than it. So that's really, really nice because it's a really simple matrix to replace. It's not like I have to deconstruct the entire LED matrix like some of these printers. So that's really, really nice in terms of replacement. Now, screen-wise, it seems like there is a glass protector on the screen, so that's kudos for that. They do have a nice little tape surround, which I'm not going to show you mine because I took mine all apart. And so it's kind of like chopped into sections right now, but it looks really, really nice when it comes out. So I really, really like that. You do have to assemble the hood when you do get this. So it's not really, that hard. It's 4 screws. That's really it. So, but for the most part, this printer has been printing fantastically with no issues. I had one failure, and that was because I didn't have the right settings. I just kind of hit print and I forgot to tune them. So again, going back to that, you know, you just got to make sure that you're tuning your settings for each and every resin that you put in there. And I have a video about that if you guys look around down there, and I'll have a newer video updated for it. So another thing that they boast about this is when you go to settings, there is a, where is it? It is a system settings, and you can update this printer over the air. So over time, you can go ahead and update this, and they might have more features on it. So that's really, really nice. It's not something you usually see on a resin printer. Usually you have to get a firmware and then plug it in there. You can still do it that way, but you could also do it online and over the air with the Wi-Fi that's built in here. So obviously this is in early stages, so some things are in Chinese. So just be on that aware. There is a clean vat function. It's called screen detach. Now, for those who don't know what the screen clean or vat clean function is, that basically, like, let's say I have a failure in my vat right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of failed print or a print I don't even care about, much like, you know, an exposure setting. I'm going to set it in there kind of like on its side, like this, so I'm not touching the resin. And I'm going to hit screen detach, and it's going to light up the entire screen. It's going to open the exposure on the entire screen. And basically it cures that layer for however many seconds you have it set for. And on this one, this is not even seconds. You just choose when it's on or off. So that's kind of nice. You don't even have to have a second. You just sit there, wait, okay, this is good, and then you turn it off. And then once you do that, you can just lift it right out. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be that easy all the time, but there are times that it'll be like that. You might have to lift up the vat a little bit, like unscrew it and lift it up, and then just kind of get your plastic scraper underneath there and then lift it all up, and it'll just be a big sheet that comes out. So instead of having to clear out your entire resin vat, you could just do that and be on your merry way. So without further ado, let's get into how the prints look. Now, some of you guys may have seen on some of my social medias, my TikTok, my Instagram, whatnot, some of the prints that I've shown off. So I'm just going to show them here again just for video review purposes, and you know, that's pretty much all I'm going to do. So there was a couple test prints that they sent. I ended up just printing one of them. The other one was kind of cool too. It's more or less a stress test, so we'll probably print that sometime down the line. But right now the test print that they gave to us came out damn good. So now, I've been told that this guy, I believe, is from World of Warcraft. Now, I'm not a World of Warcraft guy. I'm a StarCraft guy. So, my apologies if I butcher his name or anything, but I believe it's Gareth. And here is the print off of here. And this was printed just like this. Supports only on the bottom, so you can see there's, you know, some dimpling on the bottom. We didn't really clean them up or anything. There is a signature on the bottom. I'm guessing that's the person who made this. And, you know, it's just really, really nice and really shiny. And this was with Epax hard resin. So that came out very, very nice. Then I'm just going to show you some stress tests that we did. So I have a stress test from a manufacturer that I do some resin calibrations for and stuff. So this comes out very nice, very handy. It tells you all the information you need to know. If you're overexposing, these letters are kind of going to be blended. If you're underexposing, they're going to be kind of jelly-like or not there all the way. And then all these little nubs and everything won't come out very well if you're underexposing. So, and then the same thing with this. If you overexpose that, they'll kind of blend into each other. So this is a very good test print. And then we ended up switching to some 3DRS hard, which is just new stuff on the market, and it's really, really nice product. I got some more testing to do. We'll do an actual review video on that. We're going to start actually doing, excuse me, resin review videos soon, probably in the next month or so. So just be on the lookout for a lot of resin stuff that's going to be coming out on the channel. So here's another one for the 3DRS resin hard, and this is just like a quick test print. I didn't even adjust the settings, and it came out pretty good. And then obviously you guys have probably seen this amazing print that I did. And I'll leave links to the description. If I can find that Gareth print, I'll link it to that as well. But I will definitely link this print from My Mini Factory. I forget his name, but it's like Artemis or something like that is his name. He hasn't really done modeling in a couple of years, but I reached out to him and just let him know, hey, I grabbed your file. It was like $6 on My Mini Factory, and it came out amazing. There were some supports that were kind of hard on this. Again, that's because I use the Creality box slicer, and like I said, it's still in the alpha stages, so the hardness of the supports are just as hard as the model. So there are some major pitting on the back here, but we'll end up reprinting him at some point. But this was an amazingly fun print, and his hair is like deadly spiky. So that's really, really cool. I really enjoy that. Then to go on to testing out the 3DRS hard resin, I wanted to print something that would be kind of hard, and we're going to add some more test prints to it just to show it off. And those will be our basic test prints for all the resins that we do. We might add one or subtract one down the line, but I have a specific set of prints that I want to try out and basically do a comparison on each and every one of them. But another thing that I printed out was an extrusion rail. So again, this is 3DRS hard resin, and this is their gray color. I believe they also have a white color, and they might be working on a black if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I printed this out, and we'll do a test review on this just like we did with the 3DRS Fast Plus, because the 3DRS hard resin is supposed to be way, way better than that. So, but we'll do some stress testing, like actually bang it on the desk and whatnot, and show it off how it is. But that's pretty much it. If you guys got any questions or comments, concerns, you can go ahead and leave them down below. I'll leave links to whatever I can. I'll have to look for a link for the Halot-Sky that you guys can purchase. When the Amazon one comes available, if it does come available, I will link that down as well. So if you guys want to purchase it, you can do that through our affiliate link, and that way it just gets a little money back to the channel, so we can do some more resin printing and testing and whatnot. Last but not least, price-wise. So as of right now, they were having a sale. Geez, I'm having a brain fart today. Sale on this, and it was at $839. Now that has changed. It will go back up to its normal price, which I believe is just shy of $1,000. So it is about $200 more expensive, or almost $300 more expensive than the LD006. So you really have to weigh your options on what you get. But I will say that this machine, in terms of what you get with it, is vastly different than any of the other machines out on the market for medium resin printers right now, just because of the way that the light source works, the way that the build quality is. These are all heavy machine parts. There's no plastic junk on here. Now, with that being said, there is a cheap little plastic part that I am going to design that goes up on a linear rail. It's more or less just like a part that can sit there. It's not really needed, but for those who want the visual, look of it, I'm working on trying to get a print out there, so that way when this does release to the masses, you guys can go ahead and print a fancy cover for that and get it done. So, and then it also does come with a vat cover automatically. Again, it's another cheap plastic part like that. And it also comes with an extra FET film. So that's really, really nice that it does come with some extra stuff that normally these other printers don't come with. So I really, really like that. And so far, like I said, I've had nothing but good things about this printer so far. It's been an absolute blast. We still got a long way to go to work with Creality and develop that slicer a little bit better to see if we can get it more customizable for people, and that way they can have a better printing experience. But as of right now, this is probably going to be the best bang for your buck on the medium size resin printer. Now, I know that's a hard sell right there, because you have printers like the Elegoo Saturn and the Frozen Sonic Mighty 4K that are just shy of $600. and you know the build volume on those are a little bit taller, with the Mighty being 220 and the Saturn being 250, I believe it is. I could be wrong about that, but anyway. So this is more for like the dental or industrial side, than it is more for the consumer side, I guess. But it's not like it's going to print any different than a consumer printer, you know, with the way that you're used to printing. It's just the fact that it might give you a little bit better quality or smoother prints right out of the box. And just the way that everything is on here, you're going to get a quality printer all around. It is a big, beefy printer. So for me, you know, that type of stuff, even though it's little things here and there, that makes it a little bit better for me. That's completely up to you. I know a lot of people just go for the budget stuff, and yeah, it works. It works for a long time. You know, it's kind of like comparing one car to another car, like a Honda to a BMW. You know, you get a lot of stuff up front, and you know things like that. So it's kind of like that. That's my best comparison to that. Is like you have a Honda Civic that's really, really cheap. It does what it needs to, and it goes. And you have this that's a BMW. It's really, really nice. It offers some extra features onto it. Some features that you might not think that you needed, but then when you use them, you can't live without them. Those type of things. And one of those is that T8 lead screw. Just makes my prints so much smoother on there. Like, amazingly smoother. There is absolutely no layer lines. And those models that I showed you were 0.5. This printer can go all the way down to 0.1. Now, I haven't tested that because that is insanely low, especially for a monochrome screen. Usually RGB screens can just get to that area. This is the first printer that I know of that can go down to 0.1 and still print stuff. Again, I haven't personally tested that out because 0.5 is good enough for me, and 0.5 should be good enough for really anybody. But I mean, you're also tripling, if not quadrupling, your print time when you go down to 0.1. So you really have to factor that in. Quality over time, you know, that's completely up to you. So I'll leave that into your hands and see what you guys think about it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this printer. Like I said, if you got any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave them below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time, guys, happy printing.